The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media. This is Time by the Tent podcast with your host, Joey and Holly Baird. Coming up on the program today, we're going to talk about the art of fire as well as cooking with cast iron at the campsite. And our guest is Joe from YouTube channel St. Bernard Acres, who has an off-grid cabin. All that is coming up next. Welcome to Time by the Tent podcast. I'm Joy Baird. And across from me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is podcast. It's about camping, public, private land, hiking, outdoors, land ownership, and more. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us, whether you're downloading the program on your favorite podcast platform or watching the in-studio video on our Time by the Tent YouTube channel. You can go to our parent website, which is the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and click on the camping podcast or camping tabs at the top of the page. We also have a very large gardening talk radio show in the United States. You can find information there for that as well. You want to be part of the program, you can send us an email to twvgshow@gmail.com. That's twvgshow@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call at any time, 24/7, to our hotline, 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Our first topic of the program is the art of fire at camp, Holly. Fire is used to be the source of life. It cooked your food, kept you warm, kept the boogeyman away, kept animals at bay, gave you somewhat maybe a false self-security. Yeah,
absolutely. And so with that being said, now when you camp, it's not necessarily your only way to cook. Some people choose to make it their only way to cook.
They have the campfire, and then they bring a different unit in order to cook on that unit.
Yeah, like they might just enjoy the campfire or cook a few things on it, but then also use something like a stove.
Propane or stove.
Yeah, propane stove. I don't know, what else would you cook on? I think that's kind of your only two options.
Yeah, for the most part, unless you're in a camper and you've got electricity hooked up and you're using a stove,
right.
An electrical stove or propane stove or gas stove.
I guess, we're talking more primitive camping. But, so you can use fire. And when you and I camp, we typically only use fire.
Yes.
And I really enjoy that. I think a lot of times I get like 6 months worth of meat when we're camping versus other times. Mm-hmm. But it's enjoyable. And even I make my not my coffee, but my hot water on the fire.
So let's talk about there. I mean, we would think you think maybe fire is a simplistic topic, and it's easy to just go and light a fire and have it and be done. But there's some techniques. There's some different products that can be used in order to get that fire started and or keep it going. And the hardest part in most situations is getting that fire going. Now, if you're in a primitive campsite, state park, or a hip camp, or you're on your own property, getting fire started is very different in all three realms there. Some people may choose to use lighter fluid, newspaper, duct tape, a torch.
Those little fire starter things?
Little pucks or cotton swab things that you open up and will burn for a few minutes. People
even like leaves.
Birch bark is a very popular one on YouTube in places where they are. Well, they're camping anywhere, really. I've seen them on private land and public land where they will harvest some birch bark. And birch bark is one of the few natural fire starters that will light even when wet because it has that fuel mechanism in the bark,
like a paper almost.
Right.
Yeah. So you mentioned fire starters and lighter fluid, etc. You can make your own fire starters with egg cartons. And what do you put in them? You put old or you melt candle wax, and you take dryer lint. You can mix in there. I guess you can mix shredded paper in that as well, but dryer lint seems to hold the fire
in the egg carton, and then this has to be with the cardboard egg carton in order to do this. And then you can tear off each little individual chunk or egg storage portion, and like that, and that's got your homemade fire starter. Now,
I think fire starters are a good option for people who backpack or do like the walk in, walk out, hike in, hike out, because then you don't have to carry as much and you don't have a big like jug of liquid.
Well, people will use ferro rods and whatever mechanism of...
What's a ferro rod?
A ferro rod is that rod that you see people take the back of their knife and scrape with, and then they chunk off a magnesium stick as well. Magnesium burns, I think, at 3,000 degrees, and they'll dig out a chunk of magnesium and then strike it on the striker on the back, and then that will ignite the magnesium, in which you can start a fire in very wet conditions. You don't, if the kindling's wet or the newspaper's wet or whatever your fire starts, that magnesium will ignite, but then you have to have some dry kindling in order to, even if you have to split kindling or twigs in half in order to get the dry portion of the wood to get that ignited. There's whichever mechanism of fire starting in which you choose to do or go camping with, bring two. Bring a primary and a backup.
I agree. I think that's very important. And don't rely on the fact that we'll just find leaves or we'll just find this, or I'm pretty sure I can just use, this random newspaper in my car, because you might have cleaned that newspaper out of your car the week before, and you want to make sure that you do have a way to start your fire, get it going.
Lighter butane torch.
Yeah.
There's what they call it, hurricane matches. They're like 5 inches long, very dense, and they will burn under water. They will not, they won't be a flame, but the bubbling will occur, and then you bring it back out, and it'll ignite back to flame.
That sounds magical.
It's magical, but there's a lot of reviews, and they work quite well if you are concerned that you need a long burning mechanism in order to keep or get your fire started.
So when you make your own fire starter,
yes.
You do need some sort of wick situation.
Yes.
So don't think like you dump some shredded paper and some
dryer lint.
Yeah, dryer lint or shredded paper, whatever, and you have to have something to light it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Often people will light the chunk of cardboard that is attached to the egg carton. Some people...
So that could be your wick.
That could be the wick, yes. We had Dale from 5Bytes YouTube channel on a couple of programs back, and he starts his campfires, public camps, with duct tape. Duct tape apparently is a very flammable material, and he creates basically a Christmas ribbon or bow, and then sets that in the base of the fire pit and ignites it, and then covers kindling on top of it, and then walks away. So he doesn't mess it up and extinguish it, and then that works quite well. Now you have to remember to bring some duct tape. But
a lot of people might just have duct tape in their car or whatever, so that makes a lot of sense, and I like that idea. When you are talking about making these DIY fire starters, obviously if you have old candles, or you could use crayons.
Crayons will work. If you are, with kindling, now you go on any camping YouTube channel and they are starting a fire and they're using some type of accelerant, possibly, or kindling. When we go camping, we've camped in state and hip camp locations. I will take, I guess it's like a 2-gallon bag. It's a canvas bag that some type of tent park came in, and I will load the bottom portions up with kindling from 2x4s, scrap 2x4s that I have cut and trimmed down here at home, and then the top quarter will be newspaper. So you start the newspaper, you put the newspaper down, then take the kindling that are very fine shreds, and then you lay that on top, and then you get your other wood ready to go, whether you found it at the campsite, if it's allowed, or you sneak and find it, or you have larger chunks of wood, and then you ignite it, and most times it goes. Sometimes you have to redo it and get it that way. And for those who are camping at state parks or places in which you can't go salvage for wood, it's a very costly hobby to have.
Yeah, it is costly because the wood itself, it costs like about $6.
Oh, we're $7.99 now.
$8
for like 6 pieces of wood.
Yesterday I was at a state park just hiking, and I saw these people pull up to buy wood from the woodshed thing, and these people you said they got money. It was pretty obvious.
Okay.
They had a very fancy SUV, and they looked very fancy.
Wood wasn't an option. Money wasn't an option when buying wood.
No, because they just kept loading it in, and they couldn't figure out how many loads they had, how much it was, and they're like, okay. And then they're like not shouting, like arguing, but shouting each other. Okay, go tell the guy we're taking 6 bundles or whatever. Oh, I don't know if I have enough cash. Do they take cards?
Well, I thought state parks all went to that cashless at this point.
I thought it said. When I went, actually, the office was open.
Uh-huh.
I went inside to use the bathroom, and I thought it said card only, but whatever. And so then she's like, "Oh, I think I have more cash and here." And blah, blah, blah.
Let's just say they got 7 bundles at $8 a piece.
I don't know. It was like $54.
$54 for
and
whatever.
It wasn't a lot of wood.
No, it's not. No,
But then they said this is really good wood. It was very dense. It did look nice.
Well, for $54, it better burn itself and burn all night long.
And then they said that it was saving them time. I don't think these ladies would have gone out to the woods and chopped their own trees down.
Where the podcast originates in Wisconsin, that is a forbidden no to go out and salvage for wood in state parks.
Right, and that is a no.
And I'm sure that the state parks are not very thrilled whenever you go to the campsite and you pick up little twigs and throw it in the campfire either, to clean up the campsite, because that's like salvaging for wood. Depends on what kind of ranger you have around.
Yeah, and this is a very popular state park. It's very, I don't want to say patrolled, but there's a lot
monitored.
Monitored. I don't know. They also will have like weekend breakfasts and stuff like that. They have like during the main part of the year for camping, so probably from like Memorial Day through Labor Day. It's very active, and there's a lot of activities there, and it's right along Lake Michigan, so it's like a little fun. And
the poor places in portions of the country that have fire bans, what's the point of going camping then?
I don't know. I'd be very sad.
The fire is the key element, whether you're cooking on it or not. It's the key element of the whole camping experience. Now, whenever you have land, you don't have to worry about spending $56 on wood. You can just buy a chainsaw and cut all the wood you want and just have any type of size fire that you choose to. I would say in moderation, because but it doesn't hurt as bad.
No.
Whenever you have your own land and you're burning your own wood, that $8 for a bundle, whatever. We got a whole tree here.
Right. So yeah, with that being said, I think that you should consider maybe trying a new fire starter way, or if you like to involve, making your own. If you have children or you just want to do it yourself.
Well, I think the kids need to know how to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. I know how to start a fire.
No,
I know how to
you're
build
not
a fire.
child, but I mean,
I'm saying
that's a part of the way to get interacting in. It's not like, just go to the playground. We'll take care of this. We'll yell when it's time to eat.
No, I think you should show the children how to start a fire, and also talk about fire safety.
Yes.
That's very important. Fire
extinguisher would be a very important. We talked about that, things that you may not consider bringing. To have on in your car or in your tent or your camper or on your property, your land, your cabin. Very important to have that and know how to use it. Just don't have it, because having it and not knowing how to use it is like having a sidearm and a bear coming at you, and you've never shot that gun before ever, and you're not really sure what to do.
Right. It's important
prepared,
to have
not scared.
The knowledge. Yeah.
So, take and go with your standard fire starting mechanism, but take and work through a list of, hey, this week we're going to try this. This week we're going to try that, just for fun. So, fire starter, the art of fire at your campsite. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to talk about cooking in cast iron. You're tuned in to Time by the 10 podcast. Goodbye, biting bugs and plant invaders. No More Bugs by Natural Green Products is your answer. A product pioneered by the USDA and 14 years in business, No More Bugs has been the favorite by consumers across the country. More than a repellent, it is safe for you your pets, your plants, and your home. Visit nomorebugs.net for free shipping on orders over $50. Use coupon code FREESHIP4ME. That's free ship, the number 4, me.
Grip 6 produces American-made products with sleek designs and quality materials. Based and manufactured in Utah, they have a high-quality and durable products to last a lifetime. They're built beyond tough. Their wool socks come from the Rocky Mountains, and even for the most sensitive toes, these socks are made for everyone. High-quality wool socks make a huge difference for happy feet. You can wear them around the house, daily, to the outdoors, to the garden, etc., and we are glad that we made the switch ourselves because they are incomparable to any other sock we have worn. Designed and manufactured in-house for the best results and quality every time. When you purchase from Grip 6, you're supporting long life cycle products and American-made manufacturing. Check out their belts, wallets, and socks at grip6.com and coupon code radio15 to save 15% off your order at grip6.com. Fleet Farm is your one-stop shop for everything you need for your next big fishing trip. Check out their huge selection of gear like rods, reels, exclusive lures, and more. Shop top brands like Rapella, Berkeley, St. Croix, and Clam. Plus, you can even pick up live bait and get your fishing license right there at the store. Before you hit the water, make sure you get a bite with help from Fleet Farm, your fishing headquarters.
Welcome back to Time by the Tent podcast. I'm Joey Baird. Beside me is...
I'm Holly Baird.
This program's for you, for the camper, the outdoorsman, the land ownership, to enjoy and to learn so we all can be better stewards and enjoy the outdoors even more. Well, Holly, we're going to talk about cooking with cast iron.
Yeah, I have a confession.
Yes.
Cast iron is not my favorite, but that's okay.
To use or to eat things that was cooked out of them?
To use.
Okay.
I think it's because it's kind of foreign to me still.
Well, you never grew up cooking with cast iron?
No.
Camp or at home?
No.
Okay.
But that's okay. And so it's kind of foreign to me still. I like it now. It is heavy.
Yes.
It's which isn't the worst thing.
Some of them, but I mean, we've got the 6-inch cast iron versus the 17-inch. There's a big difference.
Yeah. And I do like it for a lot of things because it has that consistent heat, which is definitely in the pro column.
Yes.
And there's it's an investment. It's
lifelong
investment. But it's just, like I said, it's just different. I cooked on very like 80s, 90s Teflon, lightweight cookware. And
El Cheapo stuff you bought on sale.
I don't know if it was cheap or not, but
it wasn't the quality.
No, it wasn't the quality.
Right.
Now I have better pots and pans,
right.
But yeah.
But cast iron, if you're into the world of cast iron cooking, cast iron is much like the world of collecting cars or classic radios or firearms. You buy one, you want to get the next one, or you want to get that unique one. You want to buy that one. You're working through to create a collection. Unlike classic cars or collector radios, the functionality of cast iron is a little higher on the totem pole than a car that sits under a cover in the shed, or classic radios that you don't use and they just hang on the wall or sit on the floor. Firearms, that's a different thing. You can use firearms all the time. But cast iron, you can season your own, or you can have them pre-seasoned. It's not that difficult to season your own cast iron. There's many videos available.
I didn't know that they sold pre-seasoned ones.
Most of the manufacturers, there's China ones and there's American ones. All the American ones that I'm aware of, pre-seasons. They pre-season it before you get it. Now, you can take a rusty old cast iron and you can season it yourself. I use vinegar and then rinse it off the water. There's a procedure, a couple hours, and you coat it with this is a very, very quick version of it. Then you coat it with vegetable oil several times over the course of 2 or 3 hours in a 500-degree oven. And it turns from a plain metal into a very dark cast iron color that you would be familiar with.
Right. So that's one thing, is that you do have to consider the seasoning process of that. And I don't think a lot of people realize that the cast iron is nonstick.
It can't.
Well, it's like, I guess.
The more you use it, the more nonstick it becomes.
Yeah.
As the pores fill in with the oils and the greases and the fats and continues to create layers upon layers, that's when you have a nonstick cast iron skillet that when you're done with it, you don't scrub soap and water on it and put it in the dishwasher. You simply rinse it out. You can wipe it off. If you have to scrub a little bit, you can. And then you would and some people will take their cast iron and flip it upside down over the campfire to dry it out. If you're going to season it, seasoning it outside in a campfire probably would work as well instead of a 500-degree oven in your house where it can get quite smoky.
Yeah. So one thing I like is that you can get iron from it, basically.
Yeah. As you cook, the microscopic iron particles will come off into your food. That's not bad. Iron is a element in which all human life has to have in order to function. Our blood has iron in it. So that's a very beneficial additive to cooking with cast iron. When you cook with your Teflon, your blood doesn't require Teflon particles or Teflon elements, and that is, some people believe, has some negative effects on the body over the course of many years if continuous use, and the particles continue to come off in your food. We won't get into that. That's another topic for another day, but there's the benefit of the iron particles coming off.
Microplastics,
yes,
I think, but I don't know if it's the same for Teflon. So then the other thing that's cool about cast iron is that if, say, you forget about your cast iron or something and it gets rusty, you can restore it. That
restoring or reseasoning it. Yes, is a way of doing that.
And that's something that you did.
Yeah, I did with a melting pot or smelting pot, and took from rusty all the way up to pristine, like you bought it off the shelf. So many different ways. Some people will soak it. I just use vinegar and water and rinse, and over the course of several hours, turn a piece of rusty metal into a very nice, usable cast iron pot. Now, cast iron, like you talked about it, you can get a 6-inch pot. You can get, I think I saw a 17-inch pot the other day, or frying pan. Many different many different styles. You can get cast iron waffle makers, so you could do that over the fire if you wanted to. And like you talked about, as you get larger, you get heavier. And there's 20 and 24-inch cast iron skillets. There's massive ones. And if you're going to look at getting cast iron, always look at the option of including a lid. You may not think you need a lid on a cast iron skillet, but if you don't have one, there's more times than not you wanted a lid on the cast iron, then you got to create one out of aluminum foil, and it's a whole mess. And I think most of them do. At the camp store that we frequently visit, they sell them individually, so it's not a package deal.
Right, they do sell them individually, and as Joey mentioned, does get heavier. But then we bought a set that came with like a hook thing for the lid. Right. Especially if it's hot, it's easier to remove the lid. And then also like a glove. I call them welding gloves, yeah. But they're dense. They're not leather. Maybe they're pleather. I don't know. I thought it was leather. But if you hold on to a cast iron skillet for a 500 or 700 degree cast iron skillet for a few seconds, no matter what glove you're wearing, it's going to get hot pretty quick. So that's just so you can remove it off the location and get it to where you need to set it down and do it that way. But yeah, it was a 5-piece set. And when you buy 5-piece sets, you don't get 5 pans. You get 3 pans, 2 lids, and a hanger. There's your 5 pieces. And they throw in the gloves as a bonus, the set we got. Yeah. But we got a Dutch oven. We've got a 10-inch skillet. I think so. And a 10-inch top that goes on the skillet. And then it has a lid, and then and the lid is kind of interchangeable, isn't it? But
cast iron can be very expensive. You can spend $300 or $400 or $500 on a cast iron pot.
Yeah, but also it can be very economical too, yes. Especially if you shop at a certain place and you look out for deals. You've found them again at thrift stores, etc.
Yeah.
maybe even estate sales. And this is the time where people are cleaning out things, and you could maybe find something. You never know.
And once you get done, once you get to the point where it's almost nonstick, you don't have to use a lot of oil or a lot of butter. Even though you may want to use butter, you don't have to use a lot.
One thing, yeah, that's true. And it becomes, because it has that heat retention, it's not something that you just need to necessarily cook on. You can bake with it, and a lot of people like to make like skillet cookies, bread,
yeah,
cornbread, pizza, but it gets that nice, like, not a char, but a nice crust.
The pizza style, the old style pizza deep dish, texture to it, yeah.
Right.
So and obviously, and maybe you're different. Cast iron at camp is not necessarily the go-to. Let's carry it in because we're hiking 14 miles and we're going to have cast iron as a cookware.
No,
this is a car.
It's not for
or an RV. Or a permanent camp location product here. But it's well worth it if you are looking and you've got, cookware. Certainly look into cast iron. And hang out with us when we come back. Joe from YouTube channel St. Bernard Acres will be with us. You're tuned in to Time by the Tent podcast.
Farm and garden in the ultimate comfort. Farmer's Defense has lightweight and durable sleeves made to protect you against the elements while farming. Farmer's sleeves offer unparalleled protection of arms and skin for any farmer, gardener, or outdoor worker. Say goodbye to irritated skin and sunburns in the garden. Their sleeves offer cooling comfort and protection against elements and outdoors. An alternative to thick clothing, Farmer's Defense is made of wicky material with UBF protection factor of 50+ to protect you from allergens and scratches. You can find all of their great products at visit farmersdefense.com.
Do you own property and you're trying to keep newly planted and established trees healthy and hydrated wherever they may be planted? Well, tree diaper technology can significantly increase the water to your trees. No pipes, no hoses needed. Hydrates from water, from rain, or when you water the trees. Eliminate watering altogether and let it take care of itself. Find all of the information out at treediaper.com. That's treediaper.com, and use coupon code GARDEN15 to save 15% off your order at treediaper.com. Hydrate those trees no matter where they're at on your property.
We are brought to you today by sponsor Walton's Inc. Listen, we know you care about where your food comes from, canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables. What about the meat? Maybe you hunted or trapped that meat. At Walton's, you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, or any other product your way to your high standards. You want to make snack sticks that people will actually like? Walton's created meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. They have spices, meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's, everything but the meat. Oh, you can use code GROW50 to save 10% off orders of $50 or more.
Take those spices to the campsite with you. WaltonsInc.com. Welcome back to Time by the Tent. Happy you have downloaded the program or listening to it online. I'm your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is
Holly Baird.
Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Joe is the host and founder of YouTube channel St. Bernard Acres, a channel about his journey to building a life of self-reliance in his retirement years. Joe and his wife want to get away from a life of debt and consumerism and enjoy the freedom of homesteading lifestyle. They bought 10 acres with a barn in Guernsey County, Ohio to facilitate this adventure, and they are currently building an off-grid cabin on that property. Welcome to the program, Joe.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we are happy that you've taken time to educate us on some of your experiences. And I'll start with this. When you were looking for property to build this off-grid cabin, you acquired or you bought 10 acres that you have now. Was that the magical number, or was that what was available and you jumped on it?
The magical number, I was thinking I would need 20 acres or more. That's kind of what I was looking for. I mean, not knowing. I'm a city boy, so okay. I've never dealt with the country before, and I thought 20 acres was what you would have to have, but it was difficult to find. and 20 suitable acres that were affordable. And we stumbled across this. This was part of a farm that was split up. And we went and looked on a Saturday at the part of the farm that had the farmhouse on it, and drove back to Wheeling. I live in Wheeling, West Virginia. This is in Cumberland, Ohio. And drove back to Wheeling. I called the lady, said, we'll take it. She said, too late. Somebody bought it 30 minutes ago. Oh. I was like, darn. So she said, did you look at the part with the barn on it? I said, well, we saw the barn, but we couldn't walk through all the brambles and the bushes to get to it. But we went back out there Sunday, and we saw that barn and knew then we wanted that piece of property. And I think if I had it to do over again in my initial search, you don't need 10 acres. You don't need 20 acres. You don't need 5 acres. I have cleared about 1.5 acres, and that's all we need. Mm-hmm. I think, because I didn't know.
Right.
I'm glad I bought what I bought, because the one thing it does is keep neighbors. I don't have to worry about neighbors building around me.
Right. And we'll get to this in a moment. But at one point, you had started the foundation of a cabin, off-grid cabin in the center of the property, and then you deconstructed it, and now it's on the close to the road side of the property. Right.
Well, the original plan was not going to be a cabin. It was going to be a tiny house. And we ran into problems with the township and their rules, because they said a new house had to be a minimum of 900 square feet. And what we were building, the shed, that we had bought a shed and put it on there and was going to convert that over to a house. When I called about a septic system, that's when they mentioned, oh, by the way, that's really not big enough. It's like, oh, really? So then I called the engineers, and, we went back and forth. And so I had to give that idea up. Now, the new cabin that I built is only 12 by 16, but it's strictly a recreational cabin. Mm-hmm. It's not a home. So I wasn't faced with those same restrictions.
Right. A weekend outing deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just a dry cabin.
Okay.
Now I'm building a house.
Right.
They've since released that 900 square foot minimum requirement. So I'm building a house that's, 16 by 40.
Okay, great. Sorry. With buying this land, were there any mistakes you made that you would do differently? Sounds like one of them may have been buying less land, but was there anything else?
Not really. I mean, it's I don't think anybody who can buy land will make a mistake. I just don't think it. There were things that, it's got a big dip, goes down into a valley and up the other side on a hill. It's not all flat. The whole 10 acres is not flat.
Right.
But that's that's fine with me. I don't think anything I did in purchasing it was a mistake.
And you weren't buying it for hunting or fishing. You were buying it for a weekend getaway to clear your head type of thing.
We were buying it. My idea was to have the cabin to get out to, to retire to when I got at retirement age. And also, it's in some of my earlier videos, are actually part of the theme of my whole channel. It serves like a bug out location.
Right.
From a prepping standpoint. So all of those things, it suits my needs.
And your wife is one of these spouses that's on board with this? It's not a resistance? She wanted to be part of this project, or how does that work for you?
Yes. She wasn't as enthusiastic as me at first, but we both watch the news and we both understand what's going on in the country right now. Right. And there's a heightened sense of urgency on her part as well. So she's pretty much joined in with me now.
Well, also getting out there and just sitting around a campfire changes one's mind pretty quick for most people.
Yeah. Now she wanted the property.
Okay.
As far as getting the property and trying to build the homestead and everything, absolutely, that she was behind that 100%. Every piece of property we went looked at, she was a part of.
Okay.
And she was a part of the decision making because she was part of making the payments.
Right. Now you've built this off-grid cabin. Some may call it a tiny house, but with all of these things, there's never an ending point. There's always something more you want to do. What has been the biggest challenge you have faced when building this tiny cabin or this off-grid cabin?
Time and money. That's been the challenge.
Because you want to get everything done in 12 hours, but it's a 3-year project.
Yeah. It could have all been done a lot more quickly. When we started building that cabin, I worked a full-time job with overtime. And my wife worked a full-time job with overtime. So we basically had, every now and then we had a weekend we could go out there. That's the weekend Mother Nature decided we needed rain. So, it took a lot longer than a 12 by 16 cabin should take. But we were in no hurry. There was no rush that it had to be done for any particular reason.
But that overtime, both you were putting in allows you now to enjoy what you've worked so hard for. Exactly.
We don't have to struggle as much.
Right.
And a lot of that cabin I did with recycled materials and materials that was, marked down at places and factory offs. And, I would tear down an old building and use the material.
People give you free stuff.
Yes. Yep. To clean up.
You got a whole lumber yard in your barn there.
Oh, I know. It's what it's turning into.
Yeah. That's a good problem to have, Joe. Very good problem to have. Because you can always find something to build with extra lumber.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm not, I will never turn down lumber. Especially trying to build a homestead and build a house, all this stuff. You always need it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like one of the problems that you have faced in the past was with trespassers and theft. What advice can you give for new landowners to help prevent theft on their property?
It's difficult to say. When the first time they broke into our barn, they stole my chainsaws and lawnmowers and, everything that was in the barn, about my generator. And when I talked to the sheriff, he told me we were known as weekenders. Mm-hmm. So they knew that our schedule. They knew we were never there during the week, only on weekends.
Right.
So I think in hindsight, and now that I haven't had a problem for a few years, because I am out there very sporadically. There is no pattern of when I go out there. I've also managed, I put up a gate, I put up some fencing and security cameras. And I think all of those things are kind of like a deterrent.
Right.
I had a van that I would just leave parked out there.
Ah.
So it looked like somebody was living there. And, 1 week I'd leave my van out there. One week I'd leave my pickup out there. So it just, it would look like somebody was there a lot.
Yeah. Who wants to, you see that truck there. What kind of person wants to take that kind of risk? Because you don't,
exactly.
Nowadays, you don't know who's shooting what.
Right. The drugs are prevalent out there, like they are everywhere. And they have these crews, the sheriff told me, that will hit areas. They only hit the barns. They don't hit houses or anything. And they got up to mine. They came up the hill behind it and carried the stuff. We found their trail through the briars and brambles and rose thorn, or multi-floor rose, all the stickers. A couple of the things they were going to steal, they dropped because it wasn't worth carrying through all that stuff. I can't believe they took that generator through there. They really wanted that generator.
Well, to have a problem so badly that you need to steal stuff in order to make yourself feel good is a sad position to be in.
And that's everywhere.
Right.
That's not just that area. I have it right here in Wheeling, the exact same thing. So it's hard to stop it, but I'm telling you, put up gates, put up signs. I think what may have been part of the problem where I am, our property sat vacant for 30 years. So everybody hunted on it, and it took a while for people to realize that it had been sold and somebody now owns it and uses it.
Right.
And I think once that managed to get through to everybody over a few years, then, the problem seemed to have stopped.
With the security cameras, without giving too much information, are these like what you would see at a Walmart, or are these trail cams that are cellular, drop to your phone in an app so you know exactly what's going on the second it happens?
Yeah, it's Ring cameras.
Okay.
For some reason, this is probably one of the few solar-powered cabins you'll ever find that has fiber optic high-speed internet. I could not believe I went out there one day and in my mailbox was a thing saying you can get internet, $45 hookup, $45 a month for 2 years. I'm like, get out of here. So I called him.
Yeah.
And the guy came out. I met him out there. And he's looking all around. He said, where do you get your power from? Because they work everything off the electric poles. Mm-hmm. And he said, where do you get your power from? I said, you see those solar panels over there? And he was like, oh, no. So they had to send a crew out to dig a trench all the way down the road to bring fiber optic to me. But that was a game changer because that allowed me to put up put up my cameras, and we see and everything that goes on out there now.
Now, with the solar panels, this is not just a stuff you bought, El Cheapo on sale. You've got a high quality power solar panel system that goes to a very large power bank for your cabin.
Well, it's not that large. I found the solar panels. I found a place that sells them. They're used from solar farms.
Okay.
They're good for 20 years, 30 years. And I got a really, really good price on them. And I just, I got 6 batteries from Walmart. They're lead acid, but they're not all the fancy lithium and all that stuff because I didn't have the money to do everything.
Right.
So I made it work. It keeps my refrigerator running 24/7. It does my internet. It does my TV, my lights. It does what it needs to do.
And the cabin you're going to build a house or a small house.
Yes.
That everything's going to be. The house will be on power. The barn will be on power. The cabin could be if you wanted it, but is the cabin basically going to stay the way it is for the off chance that you lose power and you need kind of a
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I have in the cabin, I have a 30 amp receptacle on the back of the cabin. And I just plug in my solar power to it. That's wired to my service panel. So when I have the electric out there, I can just run an extension cord to the cabin and it will have electric. But if I need to, if the power goes out, which it always does out in the country like that, I just unplug the power and plug the solar back in.
Yeah.
So we'll still have that available to us. And I have more solar panels. I bought 10 of them. I only needed 4, but it was such a good deal. I'm going to set all of them up now and have a grid-tied system into the electric so that I basically will have a net zero bill for electric.
And is that, how long do you expect? Is that going to be instantaneous, or how long does that typically take before you start seeing that net zero acquire?
Right away.
Okay.
Because they buy whatever I don't use.
Right.
So during the day, on good days, I won't come close to using what those 10 solar panels are going to produce. So all of that will go back to the electric company for a credit. And then at night, I will have the power from the electric company. And there's a possibility I'll put a couple wind turbines on the barn.
Mm.
Then I won't, I'll be ready if an EMP takes out the power grid.
Well, over the course of building your off-grid property, your cabin, you've used many different and bought many different items, tools, power stations, solar panels. How can someone know what to buy and what the best item is? Because we look on YouTube, 10 videos, 8 says this is great, 2 says no, it's not, and vice versa. How can one do their best? And reviews are junk altogether in most cases. How can somebody kind of trust what they need to buy or what they want to buy in order to do what they need to do and do it correctly?
That is difficult. I take all the bad ones and I discount most of them. I take all the good ones and discount most of them. And I look in there in the middle, the 3 and 4 stars that actually read any reviews. Mm-hmm. But there's no way to really know because, I have gotten a lot of stuff from companies that want me to do reviews on them. Well, naturally, people are going to give them great reviews because they want more free stuff.
Right.
I think I'm lucky because I give honest reviews. I get a lot of stuff I won't even do a review on because I tell the company, this is not worth it, and I'm not going to do that to my channel. So I'll send you the product back or whatever you want to do. But you can't, when I worked when I had my job and my career, I used to tell salesmen, this was very important, right? If you treat somebody right and do a good product, sell a good product or do it right, they might tell 2 or 3 people. Mm-hmm. But if you sell them a bad product or you treat them bad, they're going to tell everybody they know.
Right.
And so I kind of look at reviews that way, especially consumer reviews. But you just, I bought, everybody said, oh, you got to have Morningstar controllers. You got to have this you got to have this. I bought medium priced one that had good reviews, and it's lasted 3 years. But I could buy another one tomorrow that wouldn't last a month.
Yeah.
There's really no magical equation that will tell you what to buy and what not to buy.
Well, and that's the nice thing in negative but positive on YouTube. People can reach out to channels like us or you or other reputable channels and go, hey, I'm looking to buy this. I see you've bought it. Is it junk or is it really as good as what I'm seeing online it is?
Yes, that's a very good point. And yes, I didn't even think about that. People do that. They will ask me, was it worth buying that inverter? And I say, yes, it was because it's worked flawlessly now for 3 years. And that's all I can say about it.
Right. And you want another 6 out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just will tell people honestly, This is what, I don't try to tell people what they should buy. I just say, this is what I bought.
Right.
This is what works for me.
And now in the barn, you've got a license plate collection. Have you got,
yes.
Is there any license plates you haven't got that you're like, if I get that one, I'm done. I've got everything I want?
No.
Okay.
No, the whole barn beam license plate project started when I found a couple of old license plates in the barn. So I hung them up. And then a couple of subscribers sent me a license plate to put in the barn. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So I started the barn beam license plate project, and people who want to feel like they're a part of the channel or a part of the barn can send me a license plate, and I do a video hanging their license plate up.
Yeah.
So it gives a connection between me and the subscribers is what that does. But yeah, there's not anyone that I want that would say, okay, I've got enough of these things.
Okay.
I got a big barn.
Right. Water on the property. I know you're looking at capturing rainwater for the garden, but what is the long-term expectation for drinking water? Are you still bringing it in? Do you want to dig a well? What's the goal there?
We're going to do a well. The well for the original farm was put in 1996. It's 30 feet across the property line is where the well is. If they had only moved that property line 30 feet or further, I'd have it. But the county has records, and they found water at 27 feet. The water table is very high out there. So they only went 27 feet. They hit water. They only put in a 100-foot casing.
Okay.
That's it. That's all it took. So it's going to be a relatively inexpensive well when I put one in. Right now I have rain catchment I set up on the cabin. I just did that a month and a half ago. And it's really nice to be able to, I'm out there working on the weekends to go in the cabin and turn on the faucet and have water to clean up with. And I'm going to do rain catchment off the back of the barn so I can water the garden. You can't really water gardens off of a well. You don't want your well to run dry.
Right.
But yeah, rain catchment is not difficult.
So you said you're a city person, and I grew up in the city. And I know, like, I grew up camping, though, and I know for me, I like to get away from the city and get away from people and what have you. And I don't know if I could ever visualize myself in a off-grid cabin situation because it's just a little bit too far from a Target store for me. But what sparked your interest in becoming off-grid or just having your own little, like, piece of property away from, from the city?
Well, like you, I loved camping and backpacking and hiking. When my kids were in the Boy Scouts, I was in the Boy Scouts. We did all of that. I really enjoyed it. We would go, we upgraded with age from tents to a pop-up,
right,
to a trailer. But it's like, because I just liked camping and I liked it out in the wilderness. And it's so expensive now to join a campground or travel like that. I have my own.
Right.
And I have a Walmart 10 miles from my cabin in the town of Cambridge. I mean, that's a good-sized town. There's all the restaurants and stores and all that. I'm, 10, 12 miles away from all that. So I'm not like out in the boonies.
Far enough away, but close enough.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm up on top of my hill, and, if anything happened, I would be one of the last people that people would manage to get to. So that's what led me to it. And I just want a life where I don't have to worry about the debt. I don't have to worry as much about how much it's going to cost me to go to the grocery store. It's all to be more self-reliant, because if you factor in how much less I'm going to have to spend while living out there, I'll actually probably wind up with more money because I'm retired now.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like it costs so little to live out there. That's why it's worth it. That's why I want to do it. I don't want to be in debt. I don't want to be a consumer so much. I was tired of being a consumer. That's what led me to try it.
Yeah, we totally understand. So we've really enjoyed having you on the program. Joe, can you tell our listeners how to find out more about your videos and yourself, all of your great YouTube videos?
It would be St. Bernard Acres. I mean, that's my only really social presence. Did the YouTube video. And right now, I'll put this out there, because of my experience with buying a shed, doing a shed to house conversion, which seems to be a very popular thing right now. What I'm doing on my channel right now, I'm building a shed, basically, that I will convert to a house. But by me building it, it's going to cost probably half of what it would be to get one of those sheds that you see on the side of the roads, and a quarter of what it would be if you rent to own one.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I'm doing it is my part-time job every week I buy whatever lumber I can afford that week. And I'm building this house in the barn in sections. And then in October, I'm going to have all the sections built to have it, a dried-in shed, basically.
Right.
And a whole bunch of people, subscribers, are coming in October, and we're just going to spend a weekend and put the building together.
An Amish barn building.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
For a lot less money. And my shed, my 16 by 40 shed, will be much more substantial than the sheds that you go buy from these shed company, rent-to-own companies.
Right.
So I want people to learn that they can do that. It's not something you have to be rich, and you don't have to go into debt to do it. I could use credit cards and buy all the material and all the lumber I need, and wind up with that shed and paying $800 a month, $900 a month in credit card bills. Well, then I couldn't afford to do the inside.
Yeah.
So this way you can build it, have your shed, and then once you've got it dried in, then you can start working on the inside. You don't have any bills. You don't have a monthly payment for rental on the shed. So yeah, that's the whole idea behind my channel, is to show people what I'm doing and how you can do it, how anybody can do it.
Well, Joe, we greatly appreciate the time you've offered and the information that you've shared with all of us. I'm
glad to do it. And I appreciate the information I get from you gardeners, because I know nothing about a garden.
Absolutely.
I'm putting in my very first one. I've never done a garden before. I bought a tiller. I tilled up an area. I don't even know what to plant. I have no idea. I haven't bought any seed yet or seedlings. I don't know how to do it. But I can watch your kinds of channels, and that helps me a lot learn.
Right.
I got a 20-foot by 40-foot area all tilled up now. And any advice I get, anybody wants to jump on my channel and say, hey, plant this or plant it this way, that's what I'll do. I want to try and see if anything works. Throw some seeds out and see what comes up.
Right. Well, we certainly appreciate Joe stopping in, sharing a lot of his wisdom with us about his purchase of land and his off-grid cabin as well.
Yeah, it was really great, helpful information, and just a lot of takeaways if you were to do this similar type of thing.
He's done it.
Yeah, he's done it, and he's just got a lot of great advice, and also kind of getting community involved as well.
Yes. So thank you so much for tuning in, whether you watch it on YouTube or download it on your favorite podcast platform. So until next time, I'm Joey Baird.
And I'm Holly Baird.
And we will see you at the campsite.